Hello, Alex Cole with BobCAD-CAM here. So what I want to show in this video is how we can machine a fillet on a part using a 5-axis strategy and using the tilt curve method. So as we can see, I have a part on the screen that has a fillet that wraps around the part. And what I did is I just simply drew a line that's up above the actual part right down the center line, and I extended it a little bit past the part on each end. And the reason that I did that, let me switch to a view where we can see, is so that when the tool is tilting down from this curve, we can kind of get around that edge a little bit for contacting the fillet down on these edges. Now, to keep this like a real-world part, what I've actually done here is I've got some funky shapes where these fillets are not perfectly aligning with one another. And not only the obvious differences like that one, but if we come in here, we will actually find that there's very small segments that are disjoint here as well. So we'll see how the toolpath handles that. And let's go ahead and get started with creating a toolpath on this piece. So the toolpath that I'm going to use is the multi-axis morph between two curves. This path, again, is very versatile. You can use it for a lot of things in the 5-axis world. So the tool that I'm going to use, I'm going to just modify this to a 125 ball end mill. I am going to apply an extended holder to that, though that's not required. And for my curve, so on the surface paths page, the first thing I need to do is define my two curves that are going to be used to create this toolpath. So my first curve, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these outside edges, and that includes the small segments in here where that disjoint is, to align those profiles. So this is the outermost section of this path, and then we will follow this up by selecting the second set, which will be the innermost section. Now, if I did not select the small lines that were disjointed there, the result would be over in my chain box here, where you can modify the start point, you would see that I would have more than one chain. And if I see that, then that's an indicator to let me know that I have not selected things properly. So you should end up with one complete chain when it's all done. So I will click on that chain, it will highlight everything, and I can see that I have one start point, so I have selected everything properly. If there was more than one chain over here, that indicates that you're missing a piece of geometry or something is wrong. So we'll OK that selection, and now we will define the second set of curves. And this is going to be the other side of this fillet surface. And on this side of the fillet surface, I don't have any of those disjoint connectors. And I can tell that because as I'm selecting these entities, again, I just have the singular chain. For my drive surfaces, I will actually select all of the fillet surfaces themselves all the way around the part. Okay. Okay, so this is where I personally like to use an area machining type of a number of cuts, and that's because this path is actually not a consistent width. Some areas are very narrow and some areas are wider where there's more surface. So the morph between two curves toolpath is going to blend between those, but I don't want it really to be based off of any sort of defined step over. It's more difficult for me on a small feature like that to be able to know what is the right step over that I'm going to need. So I typically set this to determine by number of cuts, and then I can say, well, if that's a 16th radius or a 125 radius, and I'm cutting that with a 125 ball end mill, if I do 5-6 passes, maybe that's what I need. Maybe it would be 8 or 10, but I can simply know that, a number of passes should give me a nice surface finish. So I'm going to set this to 5 passes, and we're going to go ahead and compute this and see what the result is. Now, as always, I've only simply created my path. I haven't worried about my tilting strategies or any of that. The first thing I want to do is look on this surface and see what my path looks like. And it does appear that I'm getting a nice continuous path around. So now, once I have that nice continuous path around, we can clearly see that our tool is at the angles that I do not want. And now we need to worry about the angle that that tool is approaching those surfaces. So I will edit the feature, come back into the parameters, and this time go to the tool axis control page. On this tool axis control page, I'm going to select the tilt through a curve option. Again, this option allows us to define a curve that the system will use to run the tool, the axis of the tool, through that curve down to the surfaces that we've selected. So by selecting and defining my tilt curve, that's going to be this line that I had shown you earlier. And I'm going to leave this angle from curve. This is the system default, but the system's just going to find the closest point or the best point on that curve for it to tilt that tool. So let's see what this looks like just by selecting that option. Okay, so we've computed our tool path. We had a good pattern, was our first step. Now we've applied our tilting strategy. But as soon as I select backplot, I can see that we have one more thing that we need to fix with this tool path, and that is our linking so that we can get our retracts where they need to be. I'm ignoring that because, again, we process this in a sequence to get to the final path, and right now I'm just focusing on the tilting strategy. So I'm going to step through this, and we can see that that tool is clearly going right through that curve that I've defined, and this tool is moving through along the path and along that line as it goes. And we can see out here at the end, it's definitely using that line all the way around. And so this should result in an acceptable tool path. And what we need to do now is go back in and take a look at that setting for those retracts. Okay, so that's found on our link page. And on our link page for retracts, we click on the retract button. Right here, the default height is 1 inch. Now I have my machine set up at the bottom of this part, and it's a couple of inches tall. So we need to set this about 2.5 inches. And that should give us a proper clearance move once this is computed. So, okay, and that's exactly where our line is, 2.5 inches, and that should be good. So we can see that even though these corners were not lined up perfectly, this path did appear to be compensating okay. And if we backplot this, the tool's going to walk in here, it's going to come around, it's going to get to these corners. As it gets to this corner, it goes ahead and moves over to make sure that it's getting that area of the surface. And again, we have an even number of passes, or the defined number of passes around the part. We said that we wanted 5 passes, and it did give us a uniform 5 passes. So by creating by the number of cuts, we get a nice, consistent, even number of passes. And maybe 5 isn't enough if we wanted to add more passes into there so that we could get a smaller scallop. we can simply come back here and set this to 12 if we wanted. And when we compute that, we'll see that it will populate with many more passes in there to give us a cleaner finish on that surface. So this is an example of a way to use TiltCurve and be able to machine radiuses and fillets on parts. I've seen a lot of people who, they're posting videos and they're tracking fillets or chamfers or things on different parts. I personally feel that it's always going to be faster for you to try to machine by indexing to an angle and then machining in 3-axis, so 3+2 machining. However, a lot of people do like to do simultaneous type cutting to track things like this. And if you're wanting to track and do an actual simultaneous 5-axis cut, here's a good example for that. One last note on this. Right now we can see that this is just stepping over in between each pass, and we would see that. Now that we have the pattern down, we have the tool axis control down, and we've fixed our retract value, what we can do, now that everything looks good, if we want to convert this to a spiral path, we can come back now at this time, and on the surface paths page, we could switch this to a spiral and recompute. And again, as I've mentioned in other videos, the reason that I always leave that for a last step is because the spiral toolpath, that calculation takes longer than the other toolpath pattern types. And so I don't want to be waiting that extra amount of time as I'm working out all the other details. So here we can see now this path has been converted to a spiral cut. So it'll start the cut, it will continue cutting until it's all the way completed. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm looking forward to making some more. Thank you.